Smoke. OVS, Old Virginia Smoke.
Hello, lovely people, and welcome to the third episode of Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast. I'm your host, Luke Darnell. I will deconstruct world-class pitmasters to extract the tactics, tools, and routines you can use at home in your backyard and in the competition barbecue world. This includes morning routines, habits, tricks, and much more. You'll hear from cooks around the world. We'll discuss what's challenged them, how they handle adversity, and where they turn to for advice and counsel. Our third guest is Joe Raziano with Big Raz Barbecue out of Batavia, New York. Big Raz was third in KCBS Team of the Year in 2019 and had absolutely fantastic year, one of the best years ever in barbecue. So please join me in welcoming the Big Raz, Joe Raziano. Well, we're here today with Joe Raziano, Big Raz. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, brother. You?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Good. Well, thank you for being on the show with us today.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, really excited to get you out there and talk about some stuff. We've been very fortunate to cook next to each other a few times now, and it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The latest was that triple in New Jersey. That was fun.
Yep. Good time. A 2-mile turn in.
Yeah, exactly. So talk to me a little bit about what does your competition planning week look like? What's your week? Do you have like a schedule that you stick to?
Yeah, we do the same thing every week, brother. I order my chicken on Fridays from a local butcher here. We pick it up Mondays. Put it in the fridge on Monday. Tuesday, I trim chicken, wrap it, get it put away for the contest. Then Wednesday, I do brisket, vacuum seal it, put that away. Thursday, we mix injections. Friday, I'll get, if it's a Saturday contest, we'll get finish rubs and everything done Friday. If it's a Sunday contest, I'll mix all that stuff Friday. I like to keep it, as fresh as possible.
Yeah.
And that's basically the same week in and week out. And then if it's a Saturday contest, Sunday when we get home, we clean the smokers, get them loaded up for the next contest. So it's keep to a strict schedule. It's just myself and my wife, Veronica, that you know. And
yep.
You know how it is. You're in the same boat. 2-person team. It's a lot of work for 2 people. So,
yeah,
I try to space it out as much as possible all throughout the week. And then pork butts and ribs, we trim right on site.
I know you're a drum guy. You're a clean after every cook guy, aren't you?
Yeah, last year I cleaned them. We did 32 contests. I probably cleaned them 30 times.
Wow.
So yeah, if it's a single, we'll clean them every time. If it's a double after the first contest, we put speedy dry or cat litter in the bottom.
Yeah.
We'll wipe out the big stuff and then roll them again the second day. But yeah, every time we go to a contest, the cans are clean. It's super. I guess I've done it here. I've cooked on them 4 or 5 times, and I don't notice a huge difference. But it seems like it's, as well as I do, there's a lot of superstition in barbecue. So once it works once, that's what we stick with.
You got to keep doing it.
That's it.
In terms of any rituals or routines that you have when you're on site at a contest, I know I'm one of the most superstitious any out there. I have a whole list of things that I got to do first thing in the morning. Do you have any of that stuff?
Absolutely. We go, so the night before the contest, we'll go to a gas station or grocery store, and I get the little miniature packs of donuts.
Uh-huh.
So that's breakfast every morning of a contest. And then we always start the morning with Chris Stapleton, Broken Halo song. And I know you love my playlist, Luke. All the country music. I know you're loving it.
I enjoy it, and because it's a lot different than what we listen to. But when we get into music, you listen to a lot of different stuff.
Oh yeah, I roll the AC/DC, the Public Enemy, all of it. It don't matter. I like all good music. But yeah, as well as I do, man. Barbecue, it's all about rituals, and we stick to a strict. My timeline is 5 pages long, so I have once the contest day starts, I wake up at 5 a.m. I get the brisket cooker going and the pork cooker. And we do a little last-minute stuff. We start cooking at 6. And from 6 o'clock on, I got my timelines. Literally every minute that I have till turn-in is written down on that timeline. So we try to eliminate missing anything,
Yeah.
Best we can. Sometimes we get sidetracked, and it is what it is. But, by keeping it that organized, it's helped us a lot.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite things about you is it's something that we share, and that's note-taking. You're way better at it than me, but talk about your note taking about around your cooks.
Yeah, so what we do, I keep just actually one of these right here. It's funny you say that because I'm going to show you something. Got, as you know, I just bought a Jambo.
Yep.
So these are I've done 3 cooks on the Jambo, and these are our notes from the 2 cooks. Actually, a 3rd cook's going on as we speak. So notes to me are very important, and I will do, I go by feel. A lot of guys, a lot of good cooks go by temperature, but as well as I do, because you cook hot and fast as well, it's a feel game.
Yeah.
One set of ribs might be, if it's a commodity set of ribs, they might be 203, 204. I've had comparts go as high as 218. So to me, it's all feel. I use temperature as a guideline. So once I get that feel, I'll write down the temperature it was during the day, humidity, was it raining, was it sunny, finish temperature, what temperature we wrapped at. I probe everything before I wrap, not because I want to know where it's at, just because I shouldn't say I don't want to know where it's at. I'm not shooting for a specific temp on wrap. I'm shooting for color, but I like to know where it's at while it's in the wrap, because the only thing I run a probe in is our brisket. Everything else I check constantly. So, that's it, man. It's taking notes, and then I'll write, if I thought the food was good, I'll put in comments what I thought, and then I'll even write the score, the placement, where we were in the country. I have a log of Northeast. We haven't cooked the Midwest too much, but when I went out there to the Royal in 18, I got a notebook from that. We've cooked the Jack twice. I got a notebook for the Jack. So everywhere we go, I have a notebook. And just it helps you, because if we go, what I found, I cook chicken thighs, but if I go south, Pennsylvania or south, sometimes I might throw legs in there, man. It just seems like they score better out there down south. Last year we went to Concord, North Carolina after the Jack, because obviously we were chasing points. And day 1, we got slaughtered. It was our worst cook of the year, I think. And day 2, I talked to our buddy Urkel from Uncle Pigs, and he got a 180 in chicken, and he happened to tell me he cooked chicken legs. So Big Raz went over to the grocery store, got chicken legs. I already had the thighs trimmed. And day 1 with the thighs, we were 27th. Day 2 with the legs, we were 5th. Same exact recipe. A lot of times, man, parts of the country, I'll write that stuff down. You know what I mean? It's just, as well as I do, if you do 20, 30, 40, some of these guys 40, 50, you can't remember every cook, man. There's no way.
Yeah.
So my notebooks are my Bible, man. I go back to them. I used to cook on a Jambo when we first started back in 2016 with contests. So I had notes from back then. I just got this Jambo a couple weeks ago, so I'm looking at my old notes. Not necessarily for recipes, more of, technique, cook time, stuff like that. The notes are a valuable part of any pitmaster's arsenal for sure.
Absolutely.
Is there guys out there that can go and cook and never look at a timeline and never look at a recipe? Absolutely. I'm not one of them.
Me neither.
I got to have I can't tell you. I got 10 things in my pork injection. I probably couldn't. I've done it 100 times in the last 2 years. I probably couldn't tell you without looking at it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it just helps me stay organized, basically.
Yeah. No, that's something I tell a lot of cooks that are starting out. I'm like, you gotta keep track. Now, once you get it to where you want it,
right,
and you've done it 100 times, then you can. But just get it and take notes and know where things are, and I think that's a big deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What were some of the best decisions you made when you first started competing and cooking? We all go through that learning curve in the beginning, and I think it's interesting to people, like if they're starting out, what are some of the things that you did that you were really happy with?
Well, my biggest and best decision I ever made in barbecue was I've been competing since 2016. When we started, I was always a backyard guy. I've had a smoker for 25 years. It's just something I've always done. I was never, I thought I was good at it till I got into this world. And then you realize how much you suck until you figure it out. You know what I mean? So I started doing some research I went to Harpoon. That's how it all started. We live in the Northeast. We're in Albany, New York. So the Harpoon Brewery Contest, one of your favorites, one of my favorites, it's about 70 miles from our house.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents were here. They live in Florida. They came up to stay with us for a week. We were sitting at the house. I can't remember if that contest was Saturday or Sunday, but I happened to see something advertised for it. And I told my dad, I said, let's just take a ride. It's only like 80 miles. So that set the bug, so to speak. I'm a super competitive person. That was something I could get back into and still have, the competition aspect of it. That's what I love the most about it. And so I started doing a little more research. I happened to see a good buddy of mine and yours, Bill Gillespie, was smoking hogs there. And Bill was kind enough to show us the smokers, talk to us a little bit. And he mentioned something to me that, hey, I'm going to be doing a class. It was his first class he ever did. I took it. I can't remember the exact year. Bill would be able to tell you. I want to say 2015. It might have been 16. So we signed up for that. I stayed in contact with Bill. We signed up for his class. It happened to work out good because it was at the Rock City Rib Fest. And I'm originally from Batavia, New York, which is 20 miles from there. So it worked out perfect. I was able to make a family visit and do the competition class. So after taking that class, it really set the bug, and I started making decent barbecue. Bill's obviously world-class, 2-time world champion, but I wasn't able to cook Bill's recipes the way he is, which is, that's with anybody. You do it the way you do it.
Yeah.
But it definitely helped me. The biggest thing, I think I took a class before I ever did a contest. I didn't want to go there and look like a fool, you know what I mean? So I figured, let me put the time in. I did a lot of cooking before I ever did a contest. And, our first contest we ever did was Hudson Valley Rib Fest. I think we finished 18th. So it wasn't bad. We had a call. Yeah. And then Mike, I don't know if you Mike Davis with Laudable. I bought one of his cookers, a champion, the first year I started. Between Mike and Bill, they've been two of my big mentors with this, especially Billy, because we cook against him every week. So, now you know how it is. You help anybody you can in this, and it comes back full circle. If you're not willing to help people, nobody's going to help you. That's the bottom line. Everybody has their good years. Everybody has their bad years. You know how this game is. You got to stay on top of it with the recipes, and the bigger network you can build with friends and people in this, you share your successes, and it helps you. So that's a bit of good advice. Make as many friends as you can out there, because most of the people, I'm not going to say everybody because I don't know everybody, but most people I know are willing to help anybody they can.
Yeah, and that steals one of my questions. And who do you seek counsel from when you're lost on a meat or something?
Oh man, I'll tell you a guy that's helped me a ton. It's a funny story how we met. I actually I didn't even know what a Jambo was when I first started. And then I happened to stumble across Mike Davis's pit, and I think's gorgeous. So I bought one of those. It's similar to a Jambo, but they all run different. And then the first contest we went to with it was Hudson Valley Rib Fest. That was my very first contest we ever did. And Rick from Shortsville was set up like 3 spots down from me, and I happened to see his Jambo. It was the first one I ever seen, and I was like, man, what the hell is that thing? He's like, oh, that's a Jambo. So now I went on the hunt trying to find a Jambo. But long story short, I put the champion smoker up for sale, and Wade Reeder from Mountain, Missouri ended up buying it. He contacted me. I think I posted on Barbecue Brethren. And since that day, I talked to him this morning. Wade and I have become good friends. And to tell you the truth, Wade's helped me a lot. Brian from Good Smoke last year, we were struggling in brisket. When we caught fire last year, it was right after Brian helped me with brisket. So I use anybody I can. It might be a guy that's cooked 10 contests, but he always gets, 175 in chicken. Right. I don't have a problem asking anybody. If it's a guy that's just cooking this year and I think he's cooking chicken better than me, I'll ask him for advice. You know what I mean? What can it hurt? So, I've called you for questions. I've called everybody I know. Wade Reeder, Billy. I talk to Billy, usually weekly. Brian Goodsmoke, Rick Shortsville, my buddy Johnny Miller. Anybody that I have a relationship with in barbecue that I think can help me, I'll ask for advice. It's that simple.
Yeah. It's great to have those networks, and all those people you mentioned are all great pit masters, and
absolutely,
and they're all very open with information.
Right.
We talk a lot. Everyone in barbecue likes to talk about their successes. One thing that I think is cool to talk about is failures. Like when is something like a failure or an apparent failure in a competition? When has that helped you like be successful down the line? I made a mistake once in chicken and Galax, and Kim still reminds me about it every time I cook, but that made me a better cook. Do you have a favorite failure or something like that?
Well, I do, but I'm going to tell you this one quick. It was a failure at the time, but it turned out not to be. So we were in Greenfield, Massachusetts. This was probably 2016. Chris Hart was there. Billy was there. Jared, all the big dogs from the Northeast. 2 of them are world champions. And this is like our 3rd contest ever. So I'm a nervous wreck. It was raining all day. I'll never forget it. And I had the Jambo at the time. I think it was like our 4th contest. So I sold that champion to Wade. I found a used Jambo in Texas. And I think that was my 1st or 2nd contest on the Jambo. It was raining all day. All my meat sucked. The ribs didn't cook. The pork was way behind. The chicken was like rubber. The only thing that was good was the damn brisket, and the brisket was amazing. So I take the brisket off, and I'm slicing it up. And same procedure. I'll separate the au jus, get the grease off, then I pour it into a separate container. Then I do my finishing stuff, if I add or take away from it, whatever it may be. And I'm sitting there and I'm trimming up the brisket, and I'm getting ready to put it in the au jus. And my wife, Veronica's standing there, and I look up and I go, where'd my grease separator go? And now we're cooking outside at the time because we're in a camper. So right next to our site is all the grease dumps. So while I'm cutting the brisket, Veronica sees the au jus, thinking it's a tub of grease, and dumps it. So now I got this beautiful brisket with no au jus. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened. So in the trailer, we had some beef broth. It was unsalted beef broth. So I took the beef broth, I threw some rub in it, I put it in the smoker for like 10 minutes, put the brisket in it just to give it some juice. We get first place brisket. So at the time, it was a failure that turned into a success. But failures that I've learned from, there was a time when I first started on these drums, I never took a drum class, still haven't. I've never taken a drum class. I've owned a Gateway Gateway was actually the first smoker I ever purchased, real smoker. I've had some Walmart stuff, things like that. But I bought a Gateway probably in like 2013, 14, somewhere around there. And cooking on it at home, and we were cooking chicken, and we were struggling with chicken. And I told my wife, I said, you know what? The chicken needs more flavor. I think it needs more smoke. So what I do, I dump like 5 chunks of cherry in there with it. And when the chicken comes off to be wrapped, it's literally black. It looked like a hockey puck. So that was a failure that I learned from. Don't run too much wood in your chicken smoker if you're cooking it on a drum. That's a lesson learned. But same thing with failures or successes. If I had a failure, I'll write a note. And then if it's something I need to practice, last year we were struggling in chicken. In the beginning of the year, I thought the chicken was amazing. It was a flavor issue. The tenderness, texture, our scores were good, but our flavors were taking huge hits. So we literally did a chicken practice here at my shop. I cooked chicken 7 times in 5 days on the drum competition. So we trimmed, I think I cooked 12 at a contest. We trimmed 60 thighs, and we cooked 6 or 7 times in 5 days. And when we came up with the last recipe, I went online and I just started reading whatever I could. And I just started throwing stuff together, testing, and we came up with our final recipe. And the kid that, Joe, that's been with me a couple times, he tasted it. He works for us. And he goes, dude, that's 180 chicken. I'm like, I don't know about 180. I said, I think it's good. We go to New Jersey, that contest we were just at with you. And day one with that new chicken recipe, we get a 180. So, that's one of them learned from a failure. We're struggling with chicken, so I kept notes, read back on the notes, seen what worked, finish rubs, sauce, maybe a little tweak here and there, and, just come up with something that you think is good and see if it flies. So we always try to learn from mistakes. And if you don't, you're never going to be successful in this business. There's no doubt about it. A big piece of advice I'll give anybody, I don't care if you've been doing this for 30 years, don't ever think you're too good not to learn. You know what I mean? If you get to that point where you think you're the best there is, and there's guys, there's guys that have won 60 times. I'm not that guy, but I'm not the guy either to sit here and say my food's the best there is. I practice cook. We were 3rd overall last year at KCBS, and I did probably 25 practice cooks over the winter to tweak my brisket and ribs because I wasn't happy with them, and we were 9th and 16th in the world in those 2 categories. But you have to be open-minded, and you have to be willing to continuously learn. You have to. Yeah. So if you're not learning, you're not going to win in this game. That's it.
That's true. That's the number one thing I tell people is you got to keep learning and you got to practice. Practice is
absolutely. It's like anything. You look at a professional golfer; they don't just go to the tournament. They hit 10,000 golf balls the week before the tournament.
Right.
It's no different with us. If you're cooking, it's as well as I do. If you cook 10 contests a year and you spread them out 2 a month, it's tough to win.
Yeah.
You can. I'm not saying you can't. You're good enough to do it. I'm good enough, I think, to do it. But to get that streak, it has to be automatic. You can't be in the trailer when it's crunch time thinking about what your next step is. You already have to know. You have to be 5 steps ahead in this game to be successful, and that's a fact. That's how we run our cook. And you come in our trailer from 6 in the morning to 1:30 in the afternoon, we are nonstop. I mean, that's just the way it is. And, you've got to baby the food. You might not want to get up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock to start the pit. You can get up at 5:30 to start it. But every time I've won, I've started at 5. So guess what? I'm lighting that damn fire at 5 o'clock.
Absolutely.
It's the way it is. So
a lot of times when I'm out there cooking and I just get a feeling that I have to do something and it may not fit in the timeline. How do you relate to those gut feelings when you're cooking?
And I've done it. Last year at Mohegan Sun, we got a 6. Now, as well as I do, and the Midwest guys are going to say 698 is not a big deal. In the Northeast, that's like getting a 710.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's a massive score. So we go to Mohegan Sun. It's the biggest cash payout contest for us in this area in the Northeast. So it's always one everyone wants to do well at because there's money there. We had a fantastic cook, man. Our ribs were spot on. The chicken was spot on. The pork was, I think we got first place pork. And the brisket, I took the brisket off and I separate my au jus, then I'll taste it. I got a wooden spoon. I'll pour some off in a dish. I taste it. If I don't like it one way or the other, I'll tweak it. You know what I mean? If it's too salty, maybe it's too sweet. Maybe I don't know what it is. It's all a gut feeling with my au jus with the brisket. And I told John Miller, our buddy, he ended up GCing that day. He was right behind us. I think he finished with a 699. We were last minute on our brisket because I was so, not sure what to do with it. And it was literally like 1:31 and we were like 2 minutes from turn-ins. And John Miller came over and I handed him a piece of the brisket that was on a cutting board. And he goes, "Man, that's salty." And I go, "I'll tell you the truth." I go, "It doesn't have enough salt." I go, "I don't taste any salt." So that was a gut feeling. I have a Himalayan, I don't even use it for barbecue. It's in my trailer for if we're eating something, a Himalayan salt grinder. I didn't put any finish rub on the brisket. I dipped it in au jus and I ground Himalayan salt over the top of it. And then I re-dipped it and put it in the box. I think we got first place brisket. We won brisket at Mohegan Sun 2 years straight. And we got first place that day with like a 178. Mm-hmm. And that was just purely a gut feeling. One guy's telling me it's too salty. And my wife, Veronica, I do all the meat prep, all that stuff. She does everything in the trailer, keeps it clean, helps me stay organized. But she and her only is my meat tester. I don't taste it. I don't even eat this stuff, dude. I like barbecue. I don't like my barbecue. You know what I mean? You know how it is. You cook it, everyone's like, "Oh, these ribs are amazing." Yeah, but I do them 45 times a year. I already know what it's going to taste like. I don't want it. She tastes everything. And, that's the biggest key for me. We started winning when I gave her control of tasting the food and telling me what to put in the box. So, a lot of it is gut feeling, man. You know as well as I do, you can have the best timeline in the world and weather, especially cooking hot and fast with a drum, weather affects them huge. If you got a lot of moisture in the air, it's a totally different color on the meat. It's a totally different wrap time. It's a totally different finish time. So you have to go a lot of times with your gut feeling on color and when to wrap and when to pull it. You know what I mean? Sometimes you might be probing something that doesn't feel quite right yet, but in the back of your head, if you take this thing 2 degrees further, it's going to be in the garbage can. So there's times I haven't liked the feeling of the meat, but I went with my gut feeling over my experience telling me this has to be done. You know what I mean? And a lot of times it turns out, sometimes it doesn't. But to be successful, you have to be able to react. It's not barbecue to win in barbecue. Anybody can go there and look at a timeline and do it the same every time if there's no issues. The guys that win and win consistently can finish and know how to finish even when there's an issue. And that's nothing anybody can teach you. That's all in your gut and that's your instincts. You have to know how to, there's times, you've had it, I'm sure. There's times I've pulled ribs off and they're like shoe leather. So you have to make some kind of decision. How am I going to get these things somewhat tender? I might crank that damn drum up to 500 and throw them back on there. You know what I mean? What's worst case scenario? I already know they're bad. So a lot of it is gut feelings, man. There's times I thought my food was horrible and we won. And there was times I thought my food was fantastic and we won. But there's also times where I think my food's fantastic and we don't even get a call. Yeah. So, you got to put your best product in the box, and it's up to you at the end of the day, man, what goes in there. It's make or break. And that's what I love about this game more than anything. It's it seems like the people that are hugely successful in this game are 1-person or 2-person teams. Look at Billy, look at Tuffy, look at Darren, all these guys, Tim Shear, Brad, you You know what I mean? All of you guys have won world championships, and you have to be in control of your cook. That's the bottom line. I tell everybody, I got buddies that want to come and help me. I'll tell them, all right, you can help me. But I might be a little bossy with you because I have a way I want this done, and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
I'm putting up to $1,500 to go travel to this contest. If I'm going to lose it, it's going to be because of the decision I've made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the toughest part. You got to find a teammate that you can work with. And, it seems like husband and wife teams are pretty successful because you figured out how to get along being married. You can damn sure get through a barbecue cook, right?
It's funny. One of the things that I want to do, and I keep teasing Kim, is because I want her to do a few episodes of this podcast where she interviews teammates.
Absolutely.
Because I don't think, especially our wives, I don't think they get enough credit for the success that all of us have had, and we couldn't.
Not at all.
We couldn't do it without them.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, and the truth's in the pudding, brother.
Yeah.
I went last year to we were on a tear, as you know, at the end of last year. We couldn't do anything wrong. And then I went to Concord. We went to the Jack. We had amazing food at the Jack. We just didn't hit the right tables. We did get third place in chicken, so I was pumped about that. But we went to Concord after that week, and my wife tells me 2 days before we're leaving, hey, a girl at work, something happened, I have to cover, I can't go. I'm like, all right, well. So I bring Joe with me, who's cooked with me a few times. But not that we missed anything. It's just not the same dynamic when you're used to cooking with somebody 30 times.
Yeah.
It's second nature. Veronica and I'm sure you and Kim, you don't even have to talk. I'm reaching for my grease separator. She's pulling it out of the cupboard because she knows what I'm looking for. So it's just when you get into that flow, and that's all cooking is, man. If you can get in – I'm not saying anybody can go cook 30 times and win, but once you're good enough – and you know your food's good enough, and once you're able to put it together, all four meats, it's all flow at that time, man. Then you just got to, you get into a rhythm. It's like anything. You're a golfer. I like to golf. Mm-hmm. You go golf 40 times a year, your handicap's going to be lower than if you played 10 times a year. It's the same with barbecue. If you cook 30 times, your average score is going to be higher than if you cook 10 times. I don't care who you are. It's just you get into a rhythm. So the husband and wife teams, I think they seem to work. Everybody I see that the top teams, a lot of them are husband and wife teams.
Yeah. Stepping away from barbecue kind of a little bit, but what are some of your career or life experiences outside of barbecue that's prepared you to be a pit master on the competition trail?
All right. Well, I my whole life I was an athlete, played football, baseball, golf, hockey. I didn't play hockey long, a couple of years, but I did play it. But football my whole life. I played college football. And, my high school coach, we were hugely successful, state champions multiple times. They drove discipline and respect into your head. And I feel as a pit master, man, you have to be disciplined. It helps you in life. It helps you in everything you do. If you have discipline, you set a game plan, and you stick to it, you'll be successful no matter what you do. And it's the same in career. I run a construction equipment company. It's a family-owned business. My brother-in-law actually owns the company, but I've been working with him since I was 16 years old. I worked for his father, and I started with him in 1999 when we opened. And my store, we're in Albany, New York. It's one of the smallest cities that we service. We have 16 stores, and we're always number one or two overall in the company. And I attribute a lot of that, the same thing I'm talking about. I make my people have discipline. We're a team. First and foremost, we're a team. Anything you do in life, if you're a team, you're going to get through it.
Yeah.
And I preach that you have to have the right mentality if you're going to be successful in barbecue. If you're going to be successful in life, it's all mentality. You know what I mean? I have an old saying: everyone cuts their own deal. You get an opportunity. It's up to you what you do with it. Discipline that I've learned from playing sports and my career. It's helped me in everything I've done.
Yeah, I mean, they don't call you Big Raz for no reason.
No, I'm 6'6", 450 pounds, baby.
And the concept of you on ice skates is terrifying to me.
Oh, man, I was like Shaq. That's why I didn't play it too long. My coordination wasn't that good on the skates. That shit's too slippery.
It was funny. One of the first times we met, I was like, I got to go meet that guy. And Kim was like, why? I was like, I got to meet anybody bigger than me.
That's how I feel too, man. That's how I feel too. I'm the same way. No, it's all good, man. I think sports a lot, man. With playing football from the time I was a kid, I had an older brother, two older sisters, so I always knew my place and just stayed disciplined, man. And my wife will tell you anything I've done and set my mind to, I won't quit till I'm successful. I'm not saying I'm going to be the best, but when I start a barbecue, my goal is I'm going to win one of these damn contests, whether it's the last thing I do.
Yep.
And, I made myself do it. That's it. You got to have the drive and the willingness. So as well as I do, man, this sport is crazy what we put ourselves through. I mean, you basically spend $1,000, $300-400 in traveling to bring your food to somebody to tell you how bad it is. You know what I mean? Everybody starts with a perfect score, right? So
Yep.
that's the way I look at it. They're telling you how bad it is, what you didn't do right and what you didn't do, what you did wrong. So you just got to have the right mentality to stay with it and stay successful in it.
Yeah. So we're going to get into some of my favorite questions here, kind of the rapid fire ones.
Let's do it.
What purchase of $100 or less has most positively impacted your barbecue life? It could be in the last year or recently, but something that didn't cost a lot of money that really, really helped you out. I think
that's an easy one, man. I was back in end of 2017. We were struggling. We couldn't get a call. It was horrible. I was ready to give it up. So I started researching everything, and I found I didn't know anything about Big Papa Smokers. So I found his website, and I went on there. Now, we were struggling bad with brisket. And he had I forget what they call it, West Coast Offense or something. It was a bundle. I think it was like $75 at the time. By far the best purchase I ever made. Come back 2018, we won our first GC, and then we just went on a tear. We changed our whole program up, and that was definitely probably the best $100 or less purchase, as well as a Thermopan. I think I can't live without a Thermopan. Just, those are the two best $100 purchases ever, for sure.
Definitely a Thermopan.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to change that question at some point because everyone says Thermopan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for $100, you can't beat it. For
right.
barbecue. I mean, you gotta have it.
I tell more people at their homes that you need to spend $100 on that. Just have it and be done.
In my Thermopan, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but Sean Gillespie's made fun of me about it a couple times. It's hot pink.
Oh.
And the only reason is I called Thermopan, and that was the only one they had in stock. So now every time somebody sees it, they're like, "You're 6'6", 400 pounds. You're using a pink Thermopan?" I'm like, "Yeah, I wanted to paint my gateways pink, but my wife wouldn't let me."
My first one was purple, so I'm with you.
Was it?
Yeah. Okay, if you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere in the world, billions of people are going to see it, what would be the message you'd put on it?
I have a stupid little saying that's contagious once everyone starts hearing it a few times. I always say, "What are you getting hot about?" And when I say that, is especially during barbecue, if my wife, I could tell when the tension's rising or something's happening or something didn't go right, I'll just look at her and say, "What are you getting hot about?" And she'll say it to me too. And then I know, you know what, you're right. I just got to back off. So basically the saying means, it's not that bad. Stay relaxed and calm, and everything will be all right. So basically I'd probably put that on a billboard.
I think you've said that to me a few times.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Especially that Jersey triple.
Oh, yeah.
Had a chicken meltdown.
No, you didn't. You won chicken the second day.
Sought counsel.
See, again, that's a big comeback, man. Most guys would be like, you did something totally different, got first place.
Yeah.
That's one of the gut feelings. Sometimes you got to do it.
Now I've practiced it 100 times.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay, so what's the most surprising thing to come out of competition barbecue for you? What has participating in this sport done for you that you didn't think was going to happen when you first?
I think the friendships, man, because when I got into this, it was all about the passion for cooking. I've always loved to cook, whether it's Italian food, grilling, Mexican food, whatever. I love cooking. So that was one of the big driving factors that got me into it. And then the ability to actually be able to compete again at 40 years old, you know what I mean? But surprisingly, I wasn't even thinking of friendships when I started this because, as well as I do, most stuff you compete in, you go to the car races, those guys don't even talk to each other. You know what I mean? They hate each other. They want to beat each other. So I wasn't sure what I was getting into this. But I got to tell you, man, over the last 5 years, I've made some of the best friends I've ever had doing this. And that's what we look forward to. I mean, I got friends in Bobby Stanfield, South Dakota. I got guys in Missouri, Kansas, you in Virginia. I know people all over the country now, and it's simply from barbecue. You know what I mean? I would have never known any of these people without barbecue. And it's just the community aspect of it, that's the biggest surprise to me. You know what I mean? Everybody's willing to help. I don't think there's another sport where people will do whatever they can to help you. And you're trying to beat each other. You know what I mean? That's the part that gets me is I might not have a rub. I go see you or Urkel or Billy. You guys will give it to me without question. You know what I mean? That's just what we do. And I think that's the biggest surprise to me in barbecue is just the community, the family. I literally call it our barbecue family. You know what I mean? That's the biggest part for us in COVID. Obviously, we want to go win, but I want to go see my friends. You know what I mean? It's that as well as I do. That's the most important part of it. If you don't have friends in this game, you're not going to enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, I thank you for being on here. Where can people find you online, and who are some people you'd like to give a shout out to?
We're on Facebook under Joe Raziano, and then I think it's Big Raz Barbecue. You can find us on there that way. Same thing on Instagram. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Big Raz Barbecue on Instagram. People I'd like to thank, obviously, Big Papa Smokers. He's one of our sponsors. He took a chance and put us on the team this year, and we couldn't be more appreciative. We wish we had, more cooks to show what we could do. Snake River Farms and Royal Oak Charcoal. Those are our three people that have helped us hugely in this game. And that's pretty much it, man.
Great. Thanks a lot for being on, Joe. I really
All right, brother. Hey, I appreciate the time.
Yep, we'll see you here in a few weeks.
Thank you for listening to Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast. Be sure to subscribe and like the podcast, rate the podcast, and share it out with all of your friends on social media. Also, be sure to check out the Old Virginia Smoke YouTube channel as well. We will have lots of new videos coming out this week. We will see you next week with our friend Joe Pierce from Slaps Barbecue. It ought to be a great conversation. For companies interested in advertising, please contact Old Virginia Smoke directly via www.oldvirginiasmoke.com. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is edited by Chris Sedenka. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is a property of Old Virginia Smoke, LLC. All rights reserved. Copyright 2020.
OVS, Old Virginia